Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order at 5 p.m. It's Monday, July the 6th, 2020, and we're meeting electronically here in the council chamber. I have Donna McDougall with us, our clerk, and Jen White is our technician, and myself, Mary Edie. So for roll call, Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Present.
Councillor Couture.
Present.
Councillor Kyler. Councillor Kyler.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Glover.
Present.
Councillor Haight.
Here.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor Ropel.
Present.
And Councillor Stewart.
Present.
Good. And for staff present tonight, we have our CAOs, Sharon Chambers.
Present.
And I mentioned Donna McDougall, Roxana Bauman, our treasurer.
Roxana is on holidays this week.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Barr, Director of Building and Planning.
Present.
Karen Kiefer, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Present.
Kevin McNeely, Fire Chief.
Present.
Adam Weiser, Director of Public Works.
Present.
And have I missed anybody as far as staff tonight? I'm thinking, is Jenna Uji on tonight?
I'm present.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jenna. Glad to have you with us tonight. Is there any other staff I'm missing tonight? Okay. So are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda? Hearing none, does anybody have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? You can always declare it further down the agenda as it arises. So we'll move to the adoption of minutes from the regular and special meetings of council.
It's moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Marie Wilson, that the minutes of the council meeting held on June 15, 2020 be adopted as printed. And for the vote, Councillor Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
And the vote carried. Does anybody have a notice of motion tonight? Hearing none. We'll go to 6.1, and it's the Municipality of Kincardine Cemeteries bylaw. And Donna, is that?
It's moved by Randy Ropel, seconded by Dave Kyler, that the Municipality of Kincardine Cemeteries 2020 bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-096. For the vote.
Just a minute, I was going to ask if there was any questions.
Yep.
Or comments. Okay, we'll move to the vote.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
And the motion carried. Or sorry, the bylaw has carried now. And 6.2, the Traffic and Parking Amendment bylaw.
It's moved by Bill Stewart and seconded by Maureen Couture that the Traffic and Parking Amendment number 2 bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-097.
Does anybody have any comments or questions on this bylaw? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy. Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
And Kyler.
Yes.
The motion carried. Next, we'll move into committee of the whole.
And it's moved by Doug Kennedy and seconded by Jerry Glover. The council move into committee of the whole and upon completion, return to council. Glover,
Yes.
Haight,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Ropel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Couture,
Yes.
Kyler,
Yes.
Edie.
Yes, and the motion carried. So I will call this meeting, the committee of the whole meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order. And it is 5:05 p.m. on Monday, July 6th, and we're here in the council chambers. For roll call, we have the same as in council, unless anybody has left. I don't think so. Let me know if you know of somebody that has left or during the meeting. Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from this agenda?
Ann,
Yes?
I would like to talk about the letter that I sent to everyone yesterday, the email. Is there a possibility we could do that just to see what everybody thinks?
Okay, I think that you can bring that up with the COVID update, Dave, because I think
Okay,
some of it's related to that.
yeah,
And we've had some information since today, so I think it's good to make sure
yes.
everybody knows.
I got some information last night also. I'd like to just see if everybody else knows too.
Okay,
Okay,
so
That's fine.
that's when we have the COVID update from Sharon. I think that's appropriate time.
Yeah.
For some of those issues. So the adoption of the minutes of the committee of the whole meetings.
Moved by Marie Wilson, seconded by Laura Haight, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on June 15, 2020 be adopted as printed. Haight,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Ropel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Couture,
Yes.
Kyler,
yes,
Edie,
Yes,
Glover.
Yes.
the motion carried. So next we're at 6.1. And this is the Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership Report, Economic Development 2020. And so Sharon, are you going to introduce this, or do I just go straight to Jenna?
Jenna is going to present this report.
Okay, welcome, Jenna.
Hi, everyone.
It's your turn.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this was brought about at the last council meeting that I was in attendance at. So here is the report. Just to start off, we based kind of a lot of the information on the survey that we did back in April, and 59% of the respondents needed support with relief and funding for their businesses. And 63.5% of the respondents said that cash flow and lack of revenue were their major concerns. So staff and economic development policy chair have looked over the 2020 economic development budget and have found that readjusting the budget to partner with the county on County of Bruce on the Spruce the Bruce and business pivot adaptation grants would be the most beneficial use of dollars to support businesses located in the municipality of Kincardine. So the Spruce the Bruce grant details and business pivot adaptation grant details were listed within the report. I don't need to probably go over the major details. I will give a current status of Bruce County grants update. So 17 businesses located within the community improvement plan have applied within Kincardine. None of the grants have been approved so far, which totals $42,000. The county allotment for the municipality of Kincardine is $30,000, and it means that there's a wait list of approximately $12,000. If we added $16,000, it would pay for the current submitted applications and one more application after that. For the business pivot adaptation grant, it was just launched on June 18th and applications were due June 25th. So at the time of writing the report they just received all of the applications. 69 in total were received, and dollars were said to be granted on a first come, first served basis. Knowing that the program is oversubscribed already, adding an extra $15,000 to the allotment of $25,000 would allow another 3 businesses to move forward with the projects. So an agreement with the county, we need to create a partnership agreement. We have worked with the county staff and got all the details. They have done a partnership for Spruce the Bruce already with the municipality of Saugeen Shores. So it's not something new, and it was very supported there because essentially the dollars that they had were going to applications that had already been submitted, which is pretty much what would happen in this case as well. So we would need to work with staff to come up with a final agreement at Bruce County. That's my quick report.
I have a question.
And you're muted.
I just wanted to say thank you to Jenna. It's very well laid out in the report. And there's one more grant we passed last week just for information, but we'll deal with this first. Okay?
I had a
yes,
question.
Marie.
Yeah.
Yes, Marie,
Oh,
and then Maureen.
Okay.
So as policy chair for economic development and tourism, I just want to say I totally support this recommendation to move forward with this grant partnership between the municipality and the county of Bruce. Then when they went over the budget, they've definitely looked at some areas which, because of COVID-19, are probably not going to get implemented this year. So it makes sense. I mean, part of the whole economic development is business retention, and certainly using some of that money to help our existing businesses is definitely going to help business retention. So some of the money will go to the people that are on waiting lists for Spruce to Bruce, and some of it will go to the other program, the Pivot Adaptation Grant Program. So a very creative way to use this extra money and to help with the impacts of the virus. So kudos to economic development for coming up with this creative idea. And I do support it. I just have a question. Jen, how soon do you think this partnership, if we approve this, how soon can the partnership agreement go forward?
I have sent to county staff and asked how they'd like to move forward, and also asked that we have a meeting before Wednesday if this does pass at council tonight so that we can move it along quickly. Of course, they've been in the know about it since the day after our last council meeting. So I think we could move it along pretty quickly.
Okay, great. And just one more thing, for the benefit of the public, then, can you also explain how this is going to benefit some of the businesses that are outside the core Kincardine area?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't really go over what the reasoning why we would want to go with 2 different grants. Spruce the Bruce specifically only funds community improvement plan area. So for us, that's downtown Kincardine. So anyone that's in any outlying area within the entire municipality, Underwood, Burvey, up on the highway, Tiverton, wouldn't be able to apply for Spruce the Bruce. So we are working on that and trying to get in movement for a community improvement plan, at least for Tiverton. But at this point, we wouldn't be able to fund it. So working with the Business Pivot Adaptation Grant, that actually would apply to any business within the municipality. And it would be helpful to some of the businesses that we do know that have applied.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Maureen.
I no longer have a question. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to point.
Randy.
Oh, Randy has a question. Sorry, Randy.
Yeah.
Good.
The only thing, and I agree. I had a long chat with Marie Wilson, and I said I would support this, and I do support it. I definitely think it's needed. But what I would like to see also is that the community planned area be expanded now that we've run into this situation with respect to the grants here, is that it be expanded to cover beyond the borders of the town of Kincardine, so that in the future that the businesses outside of the town of Kincardine can participate.
Okay, Randy, that's a good point. And from talking to some other mayors, they will have they have a much larger area covered, like they would have, 9 and 21, or their whole town businesses covered. So maybe that's something to look at too. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick question. I really can support this program too, and I think it's a great use of the 31,000 to move it into this program. Janet, I assume that the grants will still be approved at the county level. Who's auditing? Are we going to audit these to make sure that the money was used in the right way and we did get value and the community get value? Is that your responsibility, or will that be the county responsibility? Thank you.
Within the agreement, that'll be a major part of it, to make sure that we do have some say on our end, since it is our dollars. And so we'll be going through the process with county staff to make sure that, the businesses that apply are funded appropriately. So it'll be a back and forth between the county and the municipality, because that's what it needs to be when it's a partnership. And I should say, Randy, just in response to the community improvement plan area, in 2014, the municipality started some talks with expanding and making a Tiverton community improvement plan, but it didn't move forward. So I'm not sure what happened back then. I need to look into it more. But after talking with some of the businesses in Tiverton, they're on board, and it does need to be community led as well. They would be on board to moving on to doing a community improvement plan as well. So the process will take about 6 months to even move through, but it's definitely on the list to get that going.
So Jenna, I just had a question regarding that. So what does it take to expand to include more of our businesses in the whole municipality? Because we do have businesses in different places in the municipality and even outside the downtown core in the town of Kincardine. Can that be part of it as well? Have a whole general look at the municipality for this type of thing?
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Paul McGrath, who's taking care of the some of the Bruce grants and pivot adaptation, and has also worked on the community improvement plan programs with other communities. Bruce County is usually a partner in the CIC creation. So he said he was going to look into all of the details and get back to me, because expanding Kincardine to include some of the highway businesses as well should be included in there. It definitely should.
And the Sutton Park area has a few businesses and will have as we expand. So
yeah,
that would be good. Just before we leave this, I just wanted to point out that last Thursday, sorry, I'm okay. My technician is speaking to me here. Last Thursday, County Council also passed the Business Safety Supplies Grant. It's a smaller amount of money. 200,000 was approved for this grant by County Council, and it too will flow through the Bruce Community Futures and Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, and it's for PPE, hard surface disinfectants, hand sanitizers, and methods and ways to ensure physical distancing in a business. So the focus is on small businesses under 25 employees, but it could support up to 165 or 6 businesses in Bruce County. So again, first come, first serve until the money's used up, and the amount of the grant for that is $1,500. That is the max amount for for your business. So again, it doesn't sound like much, but you know, if people can have some money here and there, and it is quite a change for businesses to have to consider all these things. And for small businesses, 1,500 hopefully will help a little bit. And they might change. They'll see how the uptake goes. Okay. So that's to roll out fairly soon as well. Just for your information when we're on that topic. So thank you, Jenna. Good report. And now I should have the recommendation here. So unless there's any other questions, we'll move to the recommendation. It's there. I'll switch it over to Donna for the recommendation and the vote.
Okay, so the motion is that Committee of the Whole recommend the Council approve the recommendation as set out in the report, and that is that the Economic Development Strategic Plan budget amount of $31,000 be moved to Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership, and that Jenna UG work with Bruce County to prepare a Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership Sharing Agreement. So for the vote, Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
You need a mover and
Yes.
seconder.
Oh, sorry. And I have that moved by Dave Kyler, second by Randy Ropel. Thank you. Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes, and Jenna, good luck with your negotiations.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
And the motion carried. So next we move to 6.2A. It's the Federation of Canadian Municipalities grant application from Public Works. And I'm thinking Bill and Adam, you were maybe involved in this a little bit. So Adam, if you want to give your report.
Yes, thanks, Mary Edie. So the report before council is in regards to a grant opportunity through FCM. We had recently completed a past grant opportunity with them for other asset management plan updates, and so there is another round of funding available. The criteria within the funds is that they will fund up to 80% of a project or maximum of $50,000. And those are primarily related to items that will enhance our asset management plan. So what the report contains and the proposal that's before you relates to road and sidewalk condition assessments. We would apply to the FCM for the purpose of a project to collect that information. There's a draft agreement that is also prepared with the report. And so it's a partnership with LAS and StreetScan. So LAS is a sub entity of AMO. And so they have put together a package with StreetScan Canada ULC, and they will come in and they can perform condition assessments by driving our roads and running a machine over our sidewalks that will take 3D imaging, and it will measure the defects within the corridors that they're on. The proposal that they have before us is around $70,000 to complete that work. So a net cost in the range of $20,000 to the municipality. I've noted in the report that StreetScan has requested that we enter into a conditional servicing agreement. So rather than wait for news on the FCM grant, that we enter into an agreement at this time, and then that is conditional on FCM approving the grant. The purpose for this is that StreetScan, because they're anticipating a number of municipalities applying, would like to be able to go out and collect data and at their risk. So they would collect the data and sit on that until there's an announcement on the grant. If we're successful, then things would continue. If we were unsuccessful, then that was done at their risk and there's no transaction further between the municipality and them. When they are collecting their data through the 3D imaging, They're also able to collect all of our assets that are out within our road allowance or beyond, pending what we're looking for and within their scope of range. So a benefit with that is that we could take a look at our GIS data that we have in-house, and if there's information missing, we could look to purchase that data and upload it into our asset database. So historically, we've done a road needs study. The last review was done in 2016, actually over the course of 2015 and 16. And with it being completed in 2016, typically those are looked at on a 5-year basis for updates. The last update was done as a visual. So roads were driven and people rated those roads based on their visual observation. So a benefit of using the street scan 3D imaging is that it's going to provide us with defects based on benchmarks and statistics rather than visual. So we would be able to take that to enhance our asset management plan and then further either enhance or support which projects we're looking at for consideration for future budgeting. With the package, there is a software program that is part of this, and through that we are able to complete budgeting for the, I guess, particular road sections or broader context, looking at the roads as a whole and trying to manage which roads based on their condition and dollar value that we can put forward for budgeting considerations. One thing to note is that the road needs study, I've got it in the capital plan right now for 2021, and it is estimated at $33,000. So that alone, if we were successful in the grant opportunity, it would cost us less money to pursue this route. One other thing in addition to that road needs study update for the 33,000 was a suggestion as well to do traffic counts of our main roads. The purpose behind that is that within the minimum maintenance standards, every road within our road network is defined as a classification of road, going through class 1 down to 6. And the higher the number, it really reflects the amount of traffic that's on the road in terms of a higher volume. And then you have shorter response times and other considerations when it comes to addressing any defects. And so the reason I note that is still something I would intend to bring back within our capital budget for next year to take a look at. And the purpose behind that is that I think two things: one, the community is growing, and two, with the expansion of 7 acres and the work that's going on at Bruce Power, I do believe our roads to be higher used than what they were traditionally, and I want to make sure that staff are well versed with the proper information to bring back changes or considerations to council for maintenance programs to ensure that we're not exposed from a liability perspective. So that concludes the information I have to share, Mayor Edie.
Mayor, you're on mute. You're still muted, Mayor.
No, it says mute. It says it's off now, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
So thank you, Adam. That's great. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Adam? Yes, Councillor Stewart. And
Being policy chair, Adam and I went.
Randy. Sorry, I just wanted to say,
No
and then
problem.
Randy next.
Being policy chair, I've been well educated through what's going on with the roads. I think this is a good plan. As much as I don't like to bring new things to the table, since we already approved budgets back in January, February, there's a savings, and this is going to bring a lot more information that we can use going forward to budget roads and everything, because it's one of our largest expenses. So I can support this program, and thanks, Adam. Good delivery.
Okay, Randy.
Yeah, a good report, Adam. Yes, two things. I noticed that there's an annual cost associated with this program of $5,000, first of all. Secondly of all, this program, from my perspective, would definitely cut the costs of engineering fees to this municipality. So I think there's a benefit to agree to this program and bring it aboard.
Oh, thank you, Randy. What do you say, Adam? Do you see that as a benefit? Because usually we have the engineers do the road studies, right?
Yeah, so I do, Mayor Edie. I mean, one of the benefits is that it is a statistical approach versus visual. Councillor Ropel mentioned about the $5,000 annual fee for the program. So that is accurate if we choose to continue with that program. So the benefit of the program is that, as I mentioned, it can be used for budgeting purposes. I think the intriguing part on my end is that we're going to be able to collect this data not only for our roads, but also for our sidewalks that's done in-house. So I didn't quantify those costs for staff time to perform those assessments. So we're essentially doing all of this work at a cheaper rate. And then we could take a look at, after getting an opportunity to utilize that budgeting software, if it's something that we do not see merit in beyond the updates that this is going to provide at this time, we can go back to traditional methods of collecting that data and do away with that annual fee.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
Adam, I'm curious, you'd said that it would be used also for infrastructure mapping underneath the roads. When something like Kincardine or EPCOR comes in and lays in more stuff within our road allowance, do they transfer to us a digital data disk that can then be overlain with this software?
So I maybe my words that I used weren't clear. So with what they collect, everything that the scanner on the vehicle can see, so everything above grade, they will pick up those assets, and that information then could be transferred into our GIS database. But to answer your question about the private utilities that come in and install within approved corridors, we do not have existing data for all vendors that or clients that are within the right of way. One thing that I can say is that with EPCOR and with the gas project, as part of the agreement, they are required to provide as-built for all running lines. So we will have an accurate database for them. But as far as the telecoms, we do not, and they house that data presently.
Those as-built, are they digital or are they analog, paper?
So the as-built from EPCOR will be digital, and that will be transferred into our GIS.
Thank you.
Did I see anybody else? If I miss you, don't hesitate to break in and remind me. Did anybody else have a question? So I like LAS myself because they kind of filter through companies and as an arm of AMO, and have not led us astray before in the companies they recommend. I was just wondering, is an upper tier able to use this LAS as well? And did you coordinate at all with the county on this, Adam?
So my understanding, Mayor Edie, is that yes, an upper tier could pursue this. One of the considerations within the grant application is for lower tiers, upper tiers, to consider joint projects. But I did not reach out to the county on this. I did not reach out to any of the lower tiers either to find out if they were going to pursue it. It's just singular in the form of Kincardine at this time.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no more questions, we'll move to the recommendation that council direct staff to apply for a Federation of Canadian Municipalities, or FCM as we know it, Municipal Asset Management Program grant to advance our asset management program. And further, that council grant approval to authorize an exemption to the purchasing and procurement policy GG.2.17, section 17, negotiated purchases, to award the road and sidewalk assessment to Street Scan Canada at a total cost of $70,086, with a net cost to the municipality of $19,206 upon approval of the grant. And further that approval be given to enter into a conditional service agreement with StreetScan Canada to expedite the project. So we'll take the vote now.
It's moved by Maureen Couture and seconded by Bill Stewart. Councillor Ropel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Couture,
Yes.
Kyler,
Yes.
Edie,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Haight,
Yes.
and Kennedy.
Yes.
And the motion carried. Next, we move to 6.3A, which is a COVID-19 declared emergency update by our CAO, Sharon Chambers, and here she appears on the screen. So I'll turn it over to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Mary Edie. I don't have an extensive update today because I think we'll have a lot of discussion with the next item on the agenda, which is around the but I will say that the province has extended the emergency declaration to July 15th, and we have extended our current staff working arrangements to July 15th as well. We're encouraging our staff to take holidays at this time. We did have a number of staff that were working a lot of extra hours at the outset of the pandemic, and so we want to encourage staff to take those holidays so that we don't have an issue when we do reopen our various municipal facilities. I continue to confer with the Bruce County municipalities on a bi-weekly basis. I'm not aware of any that have opened their municipal offices to the public at this time, but they are actively planning to do so. And most are implementing sort of an adopted a graduated approach where they may not necessarily be fully open to the public, but they're starting to do some services, some customer service by appointment only. So our staff is looking at those types of services that we would provide in person on an appointment basis. And most, from what I'm hearing, are looking towards a September opening more fully, but a mandatory face covering policy would help us to open safely. With respect to the recovery center, it is still staged at the Davidson Center. We were hosting a lot of additional materials and supplies on the arena floor, which Bruce Power is now arranging to move to a recovery center that's being set up in Windsor. So we expect that to be cleared in the very near future. And I will turn it over to Karen for a brief update on recreation issues.
Okay, thank you. So I'd just like to provide an update to council and the public with regards to our beaches. So I think we've seen with COVID-19 and the extreme high temperatures we're currently experiencing, our beaches are very, very well used, both during the week and on weekends. I think yesterday was probably one of the busiest days I've seen in the many years that I've been in Kincardine. Councillor Kennedy and myself met with park staff today at Station Beach to discuss some of the beach issues that have emerged and how we plan to address them moving forward. And I'd like to provide you with that update. So today staff placed more garbage cans along the boardwalk, the main entrances to the beach, and in open areas where people like to picnic and relax. This also includes in Vahiron, we put a few more cans in the parks there and the beach as well. Additional park staff started today, and we are planning to implement a new weekend schedule, which will see staff working from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. on the weekends, cleaning washrooms and emptying garbage cans. All exterior washrooms are open to the public. A couple of years ago, Station Beach was a test project for a butt-free beach project through the Lake Huron Center for Coastal Conservation. We've noticed an increase in cigarette butts. So in an attempt to keep the beaches clean, we're going to dig out some of those containers that we use for that program and encourage the beach users to use these to butt out cigarettes. The beach cleaner, we have had the beach cleaner clean the beaches once this year already. We're finding that with recent storm events and debris has washed up on the shoreline and it's taking up some valuable towel space. So we will be getting them in as soon as they're available to clean up the beaches and get the debris gone. And we plan to do this again before the August long weekend and Labor Day, and more often if as required. But I guess we're hoping that the above measures will alleviate the concerns regarding our beaches. And if additional steps need to be taken, we will certainly act accordingly. We're due to just the high number of people that have come to the beach to enjoy it, and I can't blame them. We're just trying to get more organized and prepared to handle the people, because we certainly want our beaches looking just as nice as the public and council does. So we're going to take all efforts to make sure that happens. So I just wanted to provide that update, Mary Edie.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I know I agree with you. I just happened to be down on Sunday and Saturday and Friday for other reasons as well, and did take a look around. And by Sunday, definitely was the busiest I've seen it in a long time. It was perfect. I mean, the weather's been perfect. The lake's been perfect. It's calm. All the watercraft, etc. So I think you've taken good measures to be ready for even this week. I imagine a lot of people will be taking their holidays this week, so we'll see, and throughout the summer. So I'm just going to go and Dave, I haven't forgotten about you, but just to see if anybody has any questions or comments on Sharon and Karen's comments. So go to Doug first as policy chair.
Okay.
You muted yourself, Doug.
We're good. Okay. Somebody's doing that on me, but that's okay. Actually, I'm really proud of the staff, the job they did on the parks this year. And with over 40 parks, I know I'm in each park at least once every 3 weeks, and Karen and I probably talk on just about a daily basis. So sometimes pictures people send us or put on Facebook don't really explain the big picture. I'm disappointed that people aren't using our recyclable in a proper way, jamming it full of garbage, what makes it hard for our staff. I'm disappointed at people leaving garbage beside garbage bags or full cans. And, you know, when they could take it away. I don't think it's our own citizens, but it's disappointing when I'm down there in the morning and see that constantly. And I know how hard our staff is working. You know, 600 boards on that boardwalk. If you go down that boardwalk, you know, since the middle of or end of March have been replaced and going to be replaced. And there's some other things that we're working on right now. But like I said, I think our staff's doing a really good job. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Doug. Who was next? Bill, and then Marie.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to, sort of thank Karen and Doug. I mean, it's not going to be an easy job living on the beach. I've never seen so many people down here, and people won't be traveling this year. A lot more people will be using our beaches on a heavy usage. So whatever you guys can do to alleviate some of the problem, because the good news is that I was on the beach on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and people are doing the social distancing, which is great. So just keep up the good work, and let's make ourselves proud. But you're absolutely right, Doug. It's a two-way street. It's just not our staff. The public also needs to respect our beaches. And I just don't understand either why they think that the garbage can's full, they just can leave it beside it. They need to take it home with them. But whatever you guys are doing, continue on doing, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And Maureen? Marie, sorry.
Yeah, so
I can't read my writing here.
I just want to add to the comments that Doug and Bill have made as well. I think that the staff have done an excellent job, and under some very trying circumstances. It is very busy, and again, we've got the high water levels, but the good news is that there are more resources that have been employed, which is great, and people are social distancing, and the beaches are getting some really great use, so it will all fall into place. I do have a question with respect to something else, though. Just looking for clarification on behalf of some of the residents at Blue Water Trailer Park, because they're not sure exactly on how many numbers they can have around a campfire. Can they have 5 or can they have 10? They're not sure. Or, if they are playing a game or something. what are the rules regarding the numbers? And also, if you have, in terms of social distancing, it's your personal bubble, do they have to social distance at their trailer site? So just some clarification there if we can get it.
Okay, a good question, Deputy Mayor Wilson. My understanding, the number for gatherings is 10, provided the social and physical distancing requirements are being met. I'm not 100% sure about the bubble. I might have to look into that a little bit more, but I could certainly get in touch with the Blue Water Trailer Park contractor. Would that be of help?
I think it would, because there appears to be some confusion between the number and the social distancing aspect. So that'd be great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll look into it and get back to her this week.
Okay, great.
So Karen, maybe if you could tell the rest of us, it is interesting. This bubble is supposed to stay the same, and the bubble, but I'm never sure how many people can be in your bubble. I understood it was around 10 or 12, kind of depending on your family, but that would be good to know as well for all of us.
Okay, I'll share the information when I receive it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And yes.
Yes, Randy?
Yes. I guess just a couple of curiosity observations. First of all, with respect to the trailer park, I hope these people get a fire permit to start off with. That might be something that they should be aware of if they're not. Secondly of all, that will be interesting to hear the answer to how many people you can have around a campfire. The other issue that has bothered me to no ends for years, and it's with all due respect to our employees from recreation, it's the washrooms. And it's not their fault. It is the fault of the people that use the washrooms and abuse the washrooms. And for years, we have banged our heads against the wall in this municipality to use taxpayers' dollars to provide wonderful washroom facilities, which, let's be quite honest, the local tourism people, they don't give a damn. In all fairness, they don't give a tinker's damn. So my suggestion would be, if we want to end this problem, lock the washrooms up and put the porta cans there. We've got a cost that we're charging for these students to go in and clean it, and they've got lots of things beyond this that they could be doing. So let's cut our costs. Let's put our staff to better use than running around trying to, I guess, do a job that's almost impossible because of the situation that they're in. And let's just close the washrooms up and put the porta cans out, and to me, bear the costs, and we'll be money ahead. But I feel sorry for these students who have to go in there. I've went in, and I don't know about you people on council. You better go and take a good look at some of these washrooms that, like I said, we spent good taxpayers' dollars on, and just see how they're treated. And it's embarrassing. So, to me, close the washrooms up. No sense having them wrecked. Put the porta cans out, and we'll have them pumped every day or every 2 days, and that solves that question. So, just I'm blowing steam off here.
So, Karen, do you have any comment on that? Are the washrooms any worse than usual, or is the 3 times a day working? How's it going for cleaning so far?
Yeah, so the staff talked to them today, and they are getting around to cleaning them 3 times a day, and they didn't report that they were in terrible shape. And
sorry, I couldn't hear you there, Karen.
Sorry. So the staff have been cleaning them 3 times a day. We talked to them today, and I didn't get any indication that they were being left in bad shape. We'll certainly keep an eye on it and go from there. And I haven't had anybody complain to me about washrooms. So like I said, we'll keep an eye on it, but for now they seem to be doing okay.
Okay, thank you. Now, Dave, I said you could raise an issue or during this time right now. So
Actually, I don't have to. Karen and I talked last night, and she just repeated everything that she told me she was hoping to do last night after the meeting with Doug and the parks employees. I talked to a couple of the parks employees yesterday, and they gave me a few pointers, and I passed that along to Karen, and I think everything is under control for the time being anyway. Like, I agree with Randy about the way the washrooms are treated sometimes. And if we can keep an eye on it, maybe it'll get better. Hopefully it'll get better after all the money that we've spent on washrooms. But no, I'm quite happy with the way things have turned out just in one day after I vented. So good work, Karen, Doug, thank you. And all the employees at the parks too.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Does anybody have anything else? So I do congratulate our parks employees too, because it's not easy. There are a lot of people, and you know, if our washrooms are a problem, we'll just have to find solutions as they arise. This is unprecedented times, and I know young families, their baseball isn't on, their soccer isn't on, trips here and there aren't a possibility. So the lakes are more attractive than ever. So we're going to have crowds as long as we get this great weather. Yes, Marie?
Marie or Maureen?
Oh,
Maureen.
sorry, Marine. Yes, Marine.
I just wanted to let you know I drive by the splash pad every day because every day I go out, and it seems to be operating very, very well. It's not overcrowded. There aren't lineups. I see the staff person there very vigilant. So that was a good decision, and I think it's very successful, especially with these temperatures we're getting. So good for parks there too. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Bill.
I just wanted to say, and thanks, Maureen, for bringing that up. I have a couple of my brother's grandchildren go to the splash pad, and you guys did an excellent job. I mean, everyone's enjoying it and everything. It's one of the biggest hits around town. So job well done, Karen and Doug and your staff. You did a great job, and everyone's enjoying it. And everyone gets their 20 minutes and nobody's arguing. And even my poor little grandchild, Donald's grandchild, skinned her knee, and the person was there, brought out a Band-Aid and kissed it better almost, but not quite. But job well done. The splash pad's a huge success. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. So if nobody has anything more for our general discussion there, then we'll move to 6.3B, the mandatory wearing of masks. And this is quite a topic of conversation especially the last week or two on various levels. And I'll turn it over to Sharon to introduce it.
Okay, thank you, Mary Edie. I have received concerns from multiple members of council over the last week or two about the need for a policy around the wearing of face coverings in public spaces. And as I see it, there are two viable mechanisms for implementing a mandatory face covering policy. And the first is through a medical officer of health order, and the second is through a municipal bylaw. So as you know, the mayor and I participate weekly in a phone call with Bruce County officials and the medical officer of health, Dr. Era, and face coverings has been an item of discussion. And prior to last week, Dr. Era's position was that mandatory face covering policy was not required in Grey Bruce at this time based on the epidemiology of the virus. Recently, there's been increasing pressure from the public and the business community for a mandatory face covering policy. And so Dr. Era did arrange a call with all of the mayors in both Grey and Bruce counties last Friday to discuss the issue. And after consultation with medical officers of health across the province, Dr. Era does now feel that it is an appropriate time to enact an order requiring the wearing of face coverings in indoor public spaces in Grey and Bruce counties. He is currently consulting with legal to draft the order and to address any issues that there may be relating to exemptions for both health or human rights issues to avoid a possible challenge of the order. So he is anticipating that the order will be issued within a 2-week time frame, but it is very possible that it will be sooner than that. He has not determined how long the order will be in effect at this time, but he's looking at doing something similar to what he did in the beach order, which would be to have it there for a period of time in order to allow municipalities to consider drafting their own bylaws for implementation. The advantage of having a medical officer of health order is that it really can be implemented more quickly than we could implement a municipal bylaw. And it does provide that consistency across the region, because as you know, many tourists come to our area and they're not really aware of what municipal boundaries are. So having a consistent policy across Grey and Bruce will be very beneficial. Currently, the Wellington Dufferin Guelph Medical Officer of Health did order mandatory face coverings, and they are indicating that there is a high level of compliance there. So the other mechanism being a municipal bylaw, we could consider passing a bylaw. At this time, the city of Toronto is the only city that I'm currently aware of having a bylaw. And that was prompted when the city of Toronto, Brampton, and Mississauga requested that the province issue a provincial-wide policy, and the province declined, indicating that they would prefer to see it passed at the municipal level on a bylaw. So the City of Toronto bylaw is there as an example. It does require establishments open to the public, such as restaurants, retail stores, places of worship, community centers, common areas of hotels, et cetera, to adopt a policy to ensure that the patrons are abiding by the public health guidelines and wearing masks. It does put the onus on the business owner to ensure that the policy is developed and is being adhered to. But when I did look at the bylaw, I didn't actually see any enforcement teeth there. And I looked on the City of Toronto website as well to see whether there were penalties and exactly how they were enforcing that. And I haven't really been able to see what the enforcement mechanism is there, although I am aware that the Toronto Police and bylaw enforcement are doing the enforcement, and they certainly have more capacity to do so than municipalities in Grey and Bruce County would. So there is discussion that if it moves to a bylaw that would be implemented, both Grey and Bruce counties are suggesting that they would be the ones to implement the bylaw so that we still have that consistent regional approach across both counties. The solicitor for Grey County was on the call. As you know, he was the one who drafted the bylaw regarding the beach closures for regional consideration. And he is consulting with his peers across the county or across the province as well around the drafting of a bylaw, and also taking into consideration those same items that will be of concern in an order to ensure that there are exemptions there for people with perhaps medical issues who can't wear a face covering, or there may be some other religious or other considerations that would prohibit them from wearing a mask. So that would be incorporated into a draft bylaw that would be circulated for consideration by the two counties. With respect to enforcement, the medical officer of health order will be enforced by public health inspectors, and a bylaw would have to be enforced by municipal bylaw enforcement. And again, that regional approach would be better because there isn't, some municipalities just don't have a lot of capacity to be able to enforce. And at this time, the OPP has indicated that they would not be enforcing a municipal bylaw. So I will open it up to any questions from council.
Anne, I have a comment or a question. You're muted, Anne. still muted.
There.
That's better.
I just before you start, Maureen, I just wanted clarification because we were both on the call. I thought that was just a suggestion from the counties, and then the question was the counties don't have the bylaw enforcement, so I just wasn't. I just know whether that was going to be as much of an option or not as to the lower tiers having their own bylaw. So that's something that I maybe misunderstood that, but I didn't get the same out of it as you. But that that was maybe it was just a comment by the warden after, like, how is enforcement going to work at the county level when we don't? I mean, the police and bylaw officers are at the lower tiers. So
yes, and I think we will need further discussion and clarification around that if a bylaw is to be considered, so we can see what the Grey County solicitor comes back with, and then we could consider at which level that would be implemented. Consistency is important, though.
Yes. So sorry, Maureen. I just
to the next.
Yeah.
That's
sorry,
okay.
Maureen.
Yeah. That is a good point. They don't have bylaw enforcement. However, I must say I'm very pleased with Sharon's report today and Dr. Era's change of heart. I do think that I have been in establishments where the physical distancing is not being respected, and with quite a number of people involved. It's not just one or two. And I welcome an order because I would like to see how that works and how people will respond. And I don't think we need to consider a bylaw until we see how the order plays out. And then of course the discussion as to who passes the bylaw is of course a good one. And but I am pleased that the medical officer of health, given his interview with the Independent last week, which I was very discouraged with because he seemed to make suggestions as to why or how people should get out of wearing a mask, and I didn't like that. But anyway, I'm very glad to see that he is now considering it, or he's now going to do it, provided the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted with respect to people with health issues. So I just wanted to speak in support of.
Sorry, Maureen. I just couldn't catch what you said at the last.
I just wanted to speak in support of what he's done and what we're doing. I'm just saying, I don't think we need to consider a bylaw today or next week until we see how this order plays out.
Okay, so that's good. I think he was concerned at first because physical distancing is kind of the number one thing, and that people, if they'd wear masks, at least that's what he said to the Board of Health and to county councillors different times, is that they would forget about physically distancing because it's the number one thing that they wanted to get across. And people are really good now at physically distancing, but like you say, you go to the grocery store where it's harder to physically distance. Okay, somebody else now. Marie?
So I've spoken to a number of people about this over the last week because it was sparked by a phone call from somebody who really wants to see people wearing some sort of face covering. And it's obviously people are divided on this issue. Some are really strongly in support and some are totally opposed. And I was actually really surprised by some of the strong opposition to it. And some of the reasons that I heard, for instance, one was that, well, the numbers here don't warrant it. The risk is very low. But I think it's interesting that the medical officer of health has come out and is going to pass an order sometime within the next 2 weeks. And, you know, you can say the risk is low and the numbers are low, but if it happens to your family or a friend, it's 100%. So, I mean, we really, I don't think that holds a lot of water. And also, I think the medical officer of health has the proper medical and epidemiological and scientific knowledge upon which to base the position. So I too am very pleased with the way he's going on this. And I also agree with Maureen that it would be best to look at his order and see how that goes before we jump to the next level, which would be looking at a bylaw. And I would also, I mean, I would imagine that if we pass a bylaw, I mean, you want the bylaw to have teeth in it, so I'm sure there would be corresponding fines, etc. And I really think that I would like to see, you know, I think appeal more just to the fact that this is the right thing to do, and appeal to the good in people. I know some people have said it's against their civil liberties, and I can well imagine that many people are sick of being told what to do. You know, they're sick of being told to stay home, to wash their hands constantly. Like, how many times have we been told it's, you know, like you're back in kindergarten sometimes, but all with good reason. We know that. And I certainly would not want to see this be the tipping point, and I don't think it needs to be. I think, you know, maybe a communication plan, nothing preachy or patronizing, but something as simple as, if we're all in this together, please wear a mask, or something like, we don't want to ask, but please wear a mask. Just general heightened awareness that this is really the right thing to do, because we all know it is another tool that we can use in trying to prevent this virus and to keep it at a very low level in our region. So I support what's happening with the order, and it will be interesting to see how that plays out. And hopefully, you know, I remember when we first started talking about smoking, where a lot of people were very opposed to not being allowed to smoke in public places, but, you know, the scientific information, et cetera, people accepted it. And this is not near on the scale of that. So hopefully this won't be a huge cross for people to bear. And I'd also like to emphasize that we do need to look at the vulnerable population. And I would note that Bruce Power has donated a lot of masks that have been distributed through the BIA and the Chamber of Commerce. And there are a lot more that are going to be distributed. So hopefully we can mitigate, you know, that kind of need, but we need to be aware anyway that, like, we have to look at, you know, what age should they start to wear a mask if this goes through, et cetera, and it sounds like part of the delay is because they are looking at the exceptions. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marie. Who's next? Did I see anyone?
Ann.
Yes, Randy.
Yes, I am going to support this. I tip my hat to the doctor for changing his mind and realizing the fact that regardless if we have a low count or a no count, if we allow this to take place, we won't need to worry. Let's be quite honest, and let's be open to the public. We're going to wind up with cases here, whether you like it or not. So from me, wearing a mask is only out of due respect for the people that I meet, or like Maureen says, go to the grocery store, you go to Canadian Tire. I mean, good God, they sell masks at Canadian Tire, and you know, for $25 you get 20 masks. But the bottom line is that people wander around there with no mask, none, like as if, well, we don't have a case, so we're not going to get sick. And I know, I remember when Dave said, when he wears a mask, it fogs up his glasses. And I hear you, Dave, and I understand the issue. I don't know how to cure it other than to glue it to your nose. But the other issue that I'd like to make is, you know, out of due respect for each other, and out of due respect for this virus that basically can kill you. Let's be quite honest about it. We've been very fortunate in this area, but to me, it only makes common sense. We're going to live in a different world now, and that world is going to have us wearing a mask while we're out in the public. So we might as well get used to it. And I don't want to seem as though I'm preaching. I'm telling the people, in our municipality and the ones that come here. Listen, out of respect, we'll wear one out of respect for you people, and we will only ask that you wear one out of respect for us. And to have the order, and like Sharon said, the OPP's made it very clear. And this is the other thing that we have to consider when we're doing, if we decide to do a bylaw down the road, that they have notified us that they would not enforce the bylaw. So there's got to be some way around that we can work together with the provincial police and our bylaw enforcing officers, that when the point comes when we make the bylaw, that we can get the reinforcement that will be required. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Good points. And I think Councillor Glover was next, and then Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate this is potentially coming to this with phase 3 around the corner, but you're right. We have had low numbers, but so has Kingston. And last Monday, after the weekend, there was 27 new cases that were all tied to a nail salon. So that's just how quickly the numbers change overnight. In terms of enforcement, I think we just have to get used to the mindset of, no shirt, no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service is sort of where it's at. And it's incumbent upon us, outside of those handful of exemptions to the mask, it's up to us as leaders to ensure that the most vulnerable are protected. And sometimes those are not popular decisions, but this can quickly spread, and there's new research coming out in terms of the pathways of transmission, where it's airborne or contact surface. So there's more that we're learning about this virus, and this is just really the right thing. So I also support the public health direction in this. And if down the road we have to develop a bylaw to give it teeth, I think that's going to be the new norm for the next couple of years on some level.
Thank you, Jerry. Good points about the research. Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, yes, there's some really good points about how quick things can change. And I think the public has to realize, for us to put them in a position, I'll use this as an example, to use the Davidson Center this weekend, for seniors to play pickleball, for seniors to play cards, for kids to play hockey. I'll tell you, we've got to keep everybody in a safe situation, and things aren't going to be normal for a long time. And the quicker the public realizes that, and we work together and wear these masks, that's going to be a small thing compared to big things that we're going to miss out on. I just think it's so important, and we're letting it slip, and that's how I feel, just to add a different version to it.
Thanks, Doug. I think that is the trick. You've made a good point in that, yes, there's things we can't do, but we have to focus on how we can be creative and find other things to do. And I think people have been doing a good job of that. And we just have to, as this stage 2 progresses, we have to be careful and see what works and what doesn't work. So good points again. Who else hasn't had an opportunity to speak and wants to speak? Laura? With your mask looks great. Where did you get that one?
Well, that's from the hospital foundation. Since they couldn't sell geraniums this year, Shirley Purdy is making masks, and I understand people are donating fabric, and she's made over a $5,000 donation at $5 a mask. That's a lot of masks she's been selling. That's one way to keep busy. I just want to say, my book club is in Guelph, and they came out early with mask order. And they say that my book girl's saying that it's not a big issue, that people are just complying. I think it takes the stress off the businesses on saying that, blame the municipality or blame the medical officer of health, but you have to wear the mask to come in. While the OPP may not enforce the masking, I think a lot of people have seen on social media the freakouts, and I'm sorry, I'm going to blame the United States, because that's where you see it on social media. They will respond to trespass calls. So those sorts of freakouts that might happen in a Sobeys or an LCBO or a Shoppers or a Canadian Tire, the OPP will certainly be responding to those. That being said, from what I'm hearing in the jurisdictions that have implemented a no mask or a mask policy for indoor public spaces, it hasn't been an issue. Canadians are good and polite and tend to comply for the most part.
Okay, thank you. I think that's too is something that's good to put out there, that the OPP will respond to calls like that. I've seen a couple of incidents in the stores where people say to the employees, "I'm not doing that. I don't need to do that," and the employee will try again, and no, and then they just walk on. So if it does escalate, I think an order makes it stronger for the businesses, as you say, and it's good to know that I think for the employees, they shouldn't have to feel that way, and they can say, well, if it gets too uncomfortable, that they can consult with the OPP. So, anybody else? No one else? So, I think from the call, Dr. Era, and the length of the order, he did say, just for your information, that it would be long enough that we could assess whether we need a bylaw or not, and how it would be going forward. And so I think that's where we've landed tonight, as far as that goes. And my experience too is, again, no matter how hard I try to physically distance in stores, I haven't been shopping much till lately in stage 2, and I think that masks now are really needed in stage 2. And there is the research, as Jerry said, the research is coming out now. They've had chance. The researchers are working hard, it seems, all over the world. I've looked at a study that Bruce Power had, and one of the things that was interesting to me is if nobody is wearing a mask, if you're not wearing a mask and the person you meet in the grocery store is not wearing a mask and you're too close, it's hard in certain stores to not be close. It's more like 2 feet instead of 2 meters. If neither one is wearing a mask and one is a COVID carrier, the risk is fairly high. Said it could be as high as 90%. And then it graduates down. I don't know whether you can see this, but it graduates down. Whoops, my coordination. If one person is wearing a mask, less, and then of course it depends whether it's the carrier or the other person wearing the mask, and then if both are wearing the mask, the risk is really minimal compared to if nobody's wearing a mask. So there's interesting graphics, and this one came from Bruce Power. And when I was talking to Bruce Power, they did say if our communications team needs or wants to look at some of the templates they have and posters, knowing that they maybe have more on their communications team and more resources than we do, that our communications team for this, Sharon, is willing. You can contact their communications team and see what they have, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's lots of good things that they've been using. So I think we've, if everybody's satisfied, we'll see how the order works out. Dr. Era is researching a few things, like, do you make the exemption under the age of 2, or is it under the age of 5 for autistic children, etc., and people that have bad asthma, etc. So he's looking at things like that, and he hoped, as Marie said, within 2 weeks that he would be able to issue an order for mandatory masks. So, lost my report here. Just a minute, I got the wrong sheet. So next, we have the approval of the non-accessory sign, BI Queen Street North. And is that you, Michelle?
Okay, so the BIA board is requesting that a non-accessory sign be installed at the exterior of the Locals Pub and Eatery at 877 Queen Street. And the sign will help promote the businesses and the shopping in the district to the north. So the BIA is working also in conjunction with the owner of Locals and got approval to install. And in your package, I believe I attached a copy of what the sign will look like. 4 feet by 8 foot sign inviting the shoppers to experience Queen Street North. So they're hoping that it will make it better for the people on foot and the vehicles to view due to the street closing only goes a portion of the way down. So with regards to the sign bylaw, any kind of non-accessory sign requires the approval of council. So the report is in front of you tonight to approve the installation of the non-accessory sign at the Locals Pub and Eatery.
Does anybody have any questions for Michelle?
Maureen, I'll just mention that it's I support it. It's for the businesses north of that spot, and I have no problem with it at all.
Anyone else? So the recommendation, whoops, just got my iPad back again. The recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of Kincardine hereby approve a non-accessory sign as per section 2.25 of bylaw number 2003-136 in order to allow the BI board to erect a sign on the south exterior wall of Locals Pub and Eatery, 877 Queen Street, to promote Queen Street North businesses. I'll turn it over to you, Donna.
It's moved by Jerry Glover and seconded by Doug Kennedy. For the vote, Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
And the motion carried. Next we go to 6.3D. It's a holding removal, part lot. 70 Lake Range, and it's in the former Bruce Township and on Richard Road, I think it is that it's called there. And we have discussed this before, but I'll turn it over to Michelle again.
Okay, so the applicant is proposing to construct a single detached dwelling and a septic on the above noted lands. The lands are subject to a holding provision, which may be removed upon meeting the conditions. I have outlined the conditions in the body of the report. Subdividers agreement has been entered into with regards to, at the time of the severances, that was completed. And then also Saugeen Valley and the chief building official are satisfied with the proposal. Therefore, it's recommended that the holding provision be removed to allow for the development to proceed. Again, throughout the body of the report, I've indicated the conditions that were required to do to remove the holding. We have sent notice circulation as part of the Planning Act to the surrounding neighbors, and there was no comments received. And therefore, the recommendation is to pass the bylaw to remove the holding from the property.
Thank you, Michelle. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Michelle?
Yes, I have one.
Randy?
Yes. Michelle, with respect to this article that we're going to discuss, or we're discussing to vote on, the road, Richardson Road, does it have a limited usage on that road where we do not supply upgrades, we don't supply plowing, snow plowing and that on that road, or do we?
So on Richardson's Road,
Yep.
it is at the time of the severance years ago, we took road widening on the boundary road. We also took a piece of property so that at some point in time, if the municipality wanted to upgrade Richardson's Road, it would take that, there's a sharp curve in the existing road right now. And probably we would have been years ago, maybe driving over some private property just to make that curve. So at the time of severances, we did get those lands. And in the subdividers agreement, it does indicate that at such time as the municipality wants to or sees the need for or that type of thing, then they would do the upgrades at that time to allow for the severances to go through. And also at that time, then there was a discussion between Saugeen Shores, because it's the boundary road, and then also Richardson's Road, which is municipal, that the municipality of Kincardine does do the plowing down from the County Road 33 to the west to the lake, and then up Richardson's Road to the south. It's not done on a day. It's done, on a daily basis currently.
Yeah. So are there any further restrictions on that travel portion of the road there? I think, if I'm not mistaken, years back, there was, we were questioned as to the restrictions that were put on there by people that have built, that when would such restrictions be removed and turn it into an open thoroughfare that will be maintained by the municipality in its entirety. So I was just wondering if that was still in consideration.
It is, it's noted in the subdividers agreement that it's up to the municipality when they would do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments? So I'll turn it over to Donna.
Okay, so it's moved by Laura Haight and seconded by Marie Wilson. And for the vote, Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
And the motion carried. So next is the County Council update. I just wanted tonight to say that the consent agenda has some information as well from the county. But I just wanted to key in on the museum, one aspect of the museum for tonight. The museum, of course, is still closed, but it has all sorts of activities online, which you can explore if you're interested. And the museum staff is working hard to still provide a lot of things for you to enjoy. But one thing I want to focus on is called the Chronicling of Community Experiences project during COVID-19. So this project will collect experiences and observations during this COVID-19 era, and people in Bruce County are welcome to send in written stories, memories, journals, photographs, video, and audio recordings to the museum. They're making this a project to record this period, this global wide health crisis at the museum from a local perspective here in Bruce County. So mayors have been invited as well to participate. That's on my to-do list. In a couple of weeks, I think I've scheduled something. And the contact person is Deb Sturdivant, and you can reach her at archives@brucecounty.on.ca. And she has a direct phone line too if you want to talk to her. That's online. And there's more information available online and how to document and what to document and how to send in your information online. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention. I think members of council, from your perspective, you all meet with different groups in the community. And a lot of you probably would enjoy writing something up for the county museum to have in their archives as they collect things. So feel free to participate. It would make our county staff very happy. And also at county last week, the Kincardine Housing Build project is in spite of COVID, on schedule. They've been working hard to keep it on schedule, and if all keeps on schedule, they are hoping that the tenants could start to move in at the end of 2020. Of course, everything has to go well, but that's what they're aiming for from the county. So that's all I have for tonight. And the consent agenda is next. Does anybody have anything from the consent agenda? Bill? I'm hoping you have statement of operations.
Of course, I'm a financial person. I was talking to Roxana. Don't get all excited because at the end of May 2020, we're $2 million over surplus versus May 2019 from 4.3, we're now 6.3. But if you read all her fine little points, and she does a great job, there's lots of invoices that have not been charged yet. But talking to Roxana, unfortunately, I think she's away this week, well-deserved holiday. She'll be giving us the pandemic report, I think in August is scheduled to look at really the impact of this pandemic to our budget. So we'll wait until she comes back in a well-deserved holiday. So you'll get a full report, I believe, Sharon, in August.
Yes. Is Sharon there? Or?
And just one other thing is these patio extensions have been great. I frequent a few of these restaurants, and they've done a great job with these patio extensions. And I know there's a lot of quickness that happened with the planning and everything in Jenna's group. So did a great job, and they really handled well. And I'm hoping they're helping the restaurant business. So,
did you want to comment, Sharon? It's okay. I think that's good. The notes, you get excited looking at that financial report, and then you read the notes and see a lot of its timing and whatever. So Roxana usually brings us a more fulsome report once we've had the first 6 months, and she'll go into more of the details then. But that note too does outline the other income we received from OPG as well. And then the rest, the areas, the reason there's a surplus, as you mentioned, reserve fund transfers aren't done till the end of June either. So did anybody else have anything else to bring out?
Yeah, I did, Ann.
Okay, Randy?
It's to do with the Sunset Drive issue about the road. We received a letter here, and I'm just wondering if, I'm sure Adam's aware of it, if we could get him to look into it to address this issue that they've brought forward to us to see what can be done down there.
Yes, thanks. That's one I thought should be brought out too. And maybe Adam has already, I never know how long before these letters are received. I can't remember just now, it probably said, but maybe Adam has already looked into it. Adam, if you want to bring more information back on Sunset Drive, because I was unaware of, some of the things in the letter, and that's we don't often hear about Sunset Drive, so maybe you can bring us back a little report in the next meeting or two about what was set out in the letter, if you're still here, Adam.
Yeah, I'm still on, Mary. We still have to take a look closer. I definitely have a copy of that letter, and we will be looking at it with staff. Whether it requires a staffing report or even just communication to council, we'll be certain to make sure council's updated.
Okay, I think it's good for the people on Sunset Drive to know that we do acknowledge them in the municipality. So for me, I'd sooner see it come back to council at a council meeting. Even if it's fairly routine, Adam. That's just my opinion, but I don't think it would take that long, and you could maybe explain it. Okay, Dave, I see your hand up.
Yes. Okay. The accessibility report about the accessible parking spaces for the road closure on Queen Street. I would like to know exactly where these new parking spaces are. If someone could tell me, is Jenna still here?
Maureen.
I think between Dawn and I, we can answer. Stab, Dawn, I can start, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. One's going to be in front of the Dairy Queen. One's going to be in front of the annex, the former annex. One is going to be on the south side, Durham Market South, and this is brand new, and this is a permanent one, we hope, to allow access to the handicap or the accessible washrooms in the old fire hall. The final two are at the north end, one in front of, I never remember the name. Well, one in front of Locals and one in front of the place across the street. Sorry.
Locals.
So those are the ones.
Why at Locals?
Because that's where the road closure
It
happens.
ends at Hampton.
Durham. I said the wrong business. I did it again.
Yeah.
Donna, can you help me out? I can never remember the name of that business. I'm sorry.
Wonder if Michelle, do you have that information?
One's in front of Bar Down.
I was just going
Far down. Thank you. That's it.
You're welcome.
And one across the street.
I
So the-
saw that one.
Oh,
I
the
didn't
spots
see one
are-
in front of Rogers though.
Yes.
Let's
Yes,
have
there is.
Michelle. I think
Is
Michelle
there?
said she had some information. Did you, Michelle?
Well, go ahead, Dave. I guess if he's just while I'm looking.
Okay.
I should say I did see one in front of Rogers. I saw an extra one in front of the Independent. There isn't one in front of the Dairy Queen, and there isn't another one on Durham Market North. There's one there.
The committee
Pardon
looked
me?
at the sketches. They were on the sketches the committee looked at and recommended.
Yeah, they were, but there's always been one on Durham Market North. So does that mean there's going to be an extra one
That's correct.
on Durham Market North,
Yes.
as well as one in front of the Dairy Queen?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay, and then there's one right at the top of the hill in front of the park that's been there for a long time.
Top of Wood Hill.
We're not changing any of the ones that are in the road because when they do the road closure, they were taking away 4 accessible spots. So they were relocating those spots only for when Queen Street is closed. And then the accessibility committee requested a permanent one on Durham Market South in order to have people have a parking spot to be able to access the washrooms. So that is the only permanent one. The other 4 are only temporary when Queen Street is closed. And so there'll be temporary signs installed when Queen Street is closed. At any other time, they will be normal parking spaces.
Okay.
So we're not
No,
painting the
that's
pavement.
fine.
Yeah. We're not
It's
painting
just
the pavement.
I hadn't seen much going on with as far as the parking spaces, but there was quite a hullabaloo about it. So I just wanted to have some answers if somebody asked me, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else from the consent agenda, we'll move to the motion to adjourn committee of the whole.
That is moved by Randy Ropel and seconded by Dave Kyler. For the vote, Couture. Oh,
Yes.
I should read the motion that this
Oh.
committee of the whole adjourn at 6:38 p.m. Sorry about that, Maureen.
Okay.
So Maureen,
Yes.
Kyler,
Yes.
Edie,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Haight,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Ropel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
And the motion carried. So we're back to council. And we have matters arising from committee of the whole.
Yes. So the first one is the consent agenda. The council approved the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated Monday, July 6, 2020, and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. And that is moved by Bill Stewart and seconded by Maureen Couture. For the vote, Kyler,
Yes.
Edie,
Yes.
Glover,
Yes.
Haight,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Ropel,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Kuchar.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
The next one is the Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership Report. So this is that the Economic Development Strategic Plan budget amount of $31,000 be moved to Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership, and that the Community Development Officer work with Bruce County to prepare a Kincardine and Bruce County Grant Partnership sharing agreement. Edie.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say, did I say that that was moved by Dave Kyler? No, Doug Kennedy and Jerry Glover. So Edie, yes. Glover. Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
And Kyler.
Yes.
The next one is the amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw. This is the holding removal. It is moved by Marie Wilson and seconded by Laura Haight. For the vote, Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes. And the motion carried.
Okay, the next one is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. This is approving the grant application and to provide the exemption to the purchasing procurement policy to allow it to be done through a negotiated purchase. It is moved by Dave Kyler and seconded by Randy Ropel. For the vote, Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
And Glover.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
The next one is the agreement with Street Scan, and it is moved by Maureen Couture and seconded by Bill Stewart. For the vote, Kennedy.
Yes.
Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
And the final matter arising is the approval of the non-accessory sign for the Queen Street North Shopping District. It is moved by Jerry Glover and seconded by Doug Kennedy. For the vote, Ropel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Couture.
Yes.
Kyler.
Yes.
Edie.
Yes.
Glover.
Yes.
Haight.
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
And that's all the matters arising.
Okay, thank you. So next we move to members of council general announcements. I'll start with our Deputy Mayor Wilson.
Nothing for me this evening. Thank you.
Sorry. And Councillor Kyler.
No, I can't think of anything right now. It's hot out. I'm waiting to get in the pool.
All right. Councillor Couture.
I have nothing tonight either.
Councillor Glover.
Just a reminder to anybody who's watching or listening that the COVID assessment center hours in Kincardine have been extended and are posted on the hospital website as well as the Kincardine record. And the assessment center staff are doing an amazing job. The numbers are, high 50s, low 60s, and seemingly a bunch of people wanting to go visit loved ones along there coming to get the test. So just a shout out to all those people that continue to do that frontline work.
Thank you. Councillor Stewart.
And Council Glover, they do an amazing job. I've been tested twice because I need to go visit people in nursing homes, and every 14 days I have to go and visit Kincardine. Anyways, one of the things I really need to mention is that I'm beginning a lot of complaints in Ward 2 over the last month or two about speeding. A lot of people are speeding very quickly on the concession, the side roads. We really need to have the public slow down. If they don't slow down, I'm going to have to make a motion that we're going to have to do photo radar or bring the police force out here in a lot bigger numbers. But people really need to slow down. I don't know why it is this year, but people seem to be really speeding on our local roads. So I hope people will take this. We don't have to do the necessary steps like photo radar and have the police on every corner. They need to slow down and obey the speed limit, please. Thank you.
Okay, Bill. Next, Randy.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
And Laura.
Enjoy the patios that are open, enjoy the lake, and it's too nice tonight to have much more, so stay safe.
And Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, just another reminder to encourage people and visitors to take their garbage home when they do visit our parks and beaches to help our staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For myself, I just wanted to say, first of all, we lost Frank Saunders over the weekend, and if you know Frank, he's been wonderful in many respects, well-respected employee of Bruce Power for ages. And I just got the word today, and I think council did, but for the public that knew him, he was also the first chief executive officer and president of the NII. Very knowledgeable, very personable, and we've lost him too soon. So we'll all miss Frank. I've met him many times going to Bruce Power functions and CNE, etc. And then with the NII, he was the first, and of course now it's Bruce Wallace, but he was instrumental in bridging that as the first CEO. And so a great guy, we'll all miss him. And I just wanted to say, although the mandatory order will be coming, maybe not for a couple of weeks, from Dr. Era for Mass, I want everybody to please stay safe and be kind. We ask everyone to protect others and themselves by voluntarily wearing a mask during the next time until an order comes. When you cannot physically distance the 2 meters from others, and which, as we have discussed, is usually at a grocery store, a business, even sometimes when you're walking, depending on where you're walking. You have to be the judge. I think we can count on people to be responsible. But I'm going to ask you tonight to be particularly kind to the employees in a business and respect their directions that they give you when you enter a business. They have had a difficult time in some respects. The changes they've had to make to work at their businesses and to implement for the public. It's brought them some restrictions. It's been tough at times. So do be kind to all the employees in the businesses. They are doing their best. So that's all I have for tonight. Enjoy, as everybody has said, this great evening. And next we have our, we have a closed meeting tonight, and I forgot Sharon. Did you want to say anything, Sharon?
No, I have nothing this evening, Mary Edie. Okay,
so we can move into closed and take a little break while we're getting set up for closed. Okay? I can't hear you, Don, I don't think.
Moved by Laura Haight, seconded by Marie Wilson, that council move into closed meeting for the purpose of considering the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, and it is an acquisition of land, and further that council return to regular open meeting upon completion. For the vote, Stewart?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Couture?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Edie?
Yes.
Glover?
Yes.
Haight?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Ropel?
Yes.
And the motion carried. So we'll take our break right now. We'll just say five-minute break or so while we get set up for closed.